The Beast of Colombia, the worst serial killer in history. In the shadows of Colombia's turbulent 1990s, a figure emerged who would become one of the most terrifying names in criminal history. His name was Luis Alfredo Garavito, but to the world, he is remembered as La Bestia, the Beast of Colombia. His crimes shocked not only his country but the entire world, placing him among the most prolific serial killers in recorded history. Born in 1957 in Colombia, Garavito grew up in a deeply troubled home. Accounts describe his childhood as one filled with abuse, neglect, and trauma. While many endure hardship without becoming monsters, for Garavito, these early experiences seemed to shape a mind twisted by violence and a disturbing obsession with children. By the time he was an adult, he had become a drifter, moving from town to town, working odd jobs, and always hiding behind different disguises. Between 1992 and 1999, Garavito committed crimes so horrific they are almost beyond comprehension. He targeted young boys and adolescents, most between the ages of 6 and 16. Many were poor, homeless, or living on the margins of society. Garavito used cunning disguises to approach them, sometimes pretending to be a monk, a street vendor, or even a charity worker. With promises of food, money, or work, he lured them away to isolated areas. What followed was pure evil. After gaining their trust, Garavito would bind, torture, and sexually assault his victims before killing them. The brutality didn't end there. Investigators later discovered that many of his victims had been subjected to extreme violence, with signs of mutilation. These acts were not simply about killing, they revealed a sadistic drive that made Garavito one of the most dangerous predators imaginable. For years, his crimes went unnoticed on a national scale. Colombia in the 1990s was facing enormous turmoil, political instability, guerrilla warfare, and drug cartels dominating headlines. Against this backdrop, the disappearances of poor children drew little attention at first. Families mourned in silence. Local police registered missing person reports, but there was no coordinated effort to connect the cases. That began to change in the late 1990s when investigators started noticing similarities. Mass graves were discovered in various regions, each containing the remains of young boys. The bodies showed consistent patterns of torture and mutilation. It became clear that these were not isolated incidents, but the work of a single individual operating across Colombia. The breakthrough came in April 1999, when Garavito was arrested for the attempted assault of a young boy. During questioning, investigators began to the wider string of murders. Faced with mounting evidence, Garavito eventually confessed. What shocked the world was not just his admission, but the scale of it. He calmly detailed his involvement in the deaths of over 190 children. Authorities later confirmed at least 189 cases, but many experts believe the true number could be much higher, possibly over 200. In court, Garavito received one of the longest cumulative prison sentences in history, more than 1,800 years when all charges were combined. However, Colombian law places a cap on the maximum time a person can serve. Despite the enormity of his crimes, the actual maximum sentence he could face was 40 years, later extended to 60 in special cases. This sparked outrage across Colombia. For many, it was unthinkable that a man responsible for so much pain could ever walk free. Public anger only grew when rumors circulated that Garavito might be eligible for early release due to cooperation with authorities. Although these possibilities were later blocked, the idea that he could ever be freed was a nightmare for families of victims and for the nation as a whole. Psychologists and criminologists who studied Garavito describe him as a manipulative, calculating predator. He understood how to target the most vulnerable, how to avoid suspicion, and how to exploit the chaos of Colombia's social conditions during that time. He showed little genuine remorse, often speaking of his crimes in a detached, almost clinical way. To many, this lack of humanity confirmed why he deserved the title, the Beast. Garavito's case remains a haunting reminder of the failures that allowed him to operate for so long. It exposed weaknesses in child protection, law enforcement coordination, and the justice system itself. His crimes also highlighted the vulnerability of children living in poverty, those who often go missing without widespread attention. In Colombia, his name is still a symbol of horror, but also a painful lesson about the need for vigilance and stronger protections for society's most defenseless. On October 12, 2023, Luis Alfredo Garavito died at the age of 66 in a Colombian hospital. Even in death, his legacy is one of darkness. Yet his passing reopened old wounds for the families of his victims, many of whom feel that justice was never truly served. The scars he left behind will never fully heal. The story of the Beast of Colombia is more than just the tale of one man as evil. It is a chilling case study in how systemic failures, social inequality, and indifference can allow a predator to thrive. It is a reminder of why societies must remain vigilant, because monsters like Garavito don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, waiting for opportunities, and they can only be stopped when communities, authorities, and governments pay attention to those who are most vulnerable. In the end, the legacy of Luis Alfredo Garavito is one of devastation. Hundreds of innocent lives were stolen, countless families destroyed, and a nation left to grapple with the unimaginable. The Beast of Colombia will be remembered as one of the worst serial killers in human history, a name that continues to send chills down the spine of anyone who hears it. This has been Luz y Sombra, where the light fades and the shadows begin.